the bone crack is going to happen in the movie so I can prepare myself a little bit better. It's Baldwin. I was recommended to see it, but I feel like an influencer, maybe, but TLC. I've never listened to TLC before. Okay, starting a new recording now with the microphone. Today is a gloomy Sunday in my city, so I thought that this would be a great day to have a conversation with you and just talk about some of the things that I've been really liking in media lately that are kind of outside of the internet, so I can kind of make sure that I'm not spending all of my time on my phone, and just talk about those hobbies that I'm really kind of excited to continue on, especially in the future, and make sure that I'm keeping up to date with those. I'm really excited just to kind of sit down, have a more personal video. I know that my last couple of videos have been about random topics from like Nara Smith or the rap video before, so I thought this would be a good video just to kind of introduce you to me and me to you, and just kind of foster that relationship within my channel especially. So bundle up, get cozy, get a blanket with you today. I have a nice little Jigglypuff plush that I got from Target not too long ago. So if you want to have a little buddy with you today, you can certainly do that. So we'll start with the books. The books, I've been trying to get better at my reading within 2024. Also, just my other hobbies that we'll get into within the rest of this video have been kind of taking over my time, or I've just been letting them take over my time. And my goal for 2024 was to read 12 books within the span of 2024, so one book per month. January was really good. I had a good start there, and I finished off a book, and then past that point it was just kind of a little bit downhill. But I did read one book, which is a lot more than I read in past years. So
okay, so there's some education that needs to be done. I can see that.
We'll start with that book though. The book that I read was on my Kindle, and it was Darrell by Jean Genet, and it's a book about like a French sailor who is just kind of known for being closed off and not very open with people, and also just having like a seductive nature about him as well. So he befriends a lot of people in this port town that him and his fellow sailors like stop in, and he does end up murdering somebody. So a couple of people, I think. So actually that's not,
oh, that's no.
In the sense that, no. You know what I mean?
You see his progression throughout the story, and you kind of see how his inner frustrations come out and how he takes those out on other people for the way that he feels about himself. I read this on my Kindle. This was also another reason why I got into reading this year. My other book that I am currently reading right now though is Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I was recommended this by my boyfriend, and he read it first. He said it was a really good book, and I think this is one of the books that if you're just like gay and in your 20s you should read. I've heard so many good things about this book. Also, I want to get more into James Baldwin's like just writing and his books and stuff like that. I know little of him, and I would like to know more of his writing style and like the stories that he has written in the past. So I think that's something that I definitely do want to focus on and make sure that I'm kind of continuing that. I think this will be really interesting to read once I pick it back up again. Hopefully this YouTube video will motivate me to do just that and actually pick it back up again, because I need to, and then I can finish it and we can talk about it again later on. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was the movies that I've watched lately. My boyfriend has been more into the movies lately than I have, but for me, the movies that I've watched lately, I've watched The Zone of Interest, which was a really, really, really good film. I watched it on streaming. I think it was on HBO Max, but it was a film about the Holocaust and a family that has a home that is right outside one of the camps for the Holocaust. But it shows you the reality of people during that time and the way of thinking, as well as the disconnection and the cognitive dissonance that they displayed while also living so close to a place that was creating death. It's really interesting to see, especially if you apply it to where we are now in our society with all of the tragedy that is happening in the world. The soundtrack for this movie is also stunningly gorgeous and beautiful. It's something that you really do need to take into account when you are watching this movie because it's a big part of it. It's something that you really should pay attention to. You might even want to watch it twice just so like you can really soak it in, because there's a lot of things that this movie portrays and does when you're listening to the soundtrack and also paying attention to it. The next movie that I wanted to talk about as well was the Challengers movie that just came out late April. I just watched it yesterday, and I think it's one of my favorite movies of 2024. I don't think there's been a ton of movies that I've watched in 2024, but I think it's one of my favorite movies of 2024 so far. The soundtrack was really, really good. The cinematography was really, really good as well. The actors, when I tell you everyone in this movie was just strikingly gorgeous, down to Zendaya. Who? Zendaya.
My name is not Zendaya. My name is Zendaya.
Everyone in this movie looks like they just got off the runway a little bit. But the movie is about tennis. It is about tennis. I know that sometimes the trailers look like it's not really about tennis. It just shows you what goes on with the sport and like the relationships that can occur with that sport. Because there's a monologue within the movie where a character talks about how the art of tennis is that it's a relationship on the court and it's not just a game. When people start thinking of it more like a relationship, that's when you see better results and that's when you see players win. So I thought that was really cool and a really great premise for the movie. So definitely check it out, a 10 out of 10. My only, not complaint, but my only issue with the movie is when they do have character Tashi, when she injures herself, there is a scene in there. It's not graphic at all by any means. There's no blood or anything shown like that, but there is like a bone cracking sound effect. I shudder every time. It's just not something I can usually do for movies, but I can do any scary movie at all when it's like anything else, like just not that at all. But yeah, so that's my only warning for the Challengers movie is that there is a bone cracking sound effect. Still, very good movie, 10 out of 10, would watch again. So the next topic I want to talk about was the other hobby that I'm also into. Not a lot of people know this about me, but I am into video games. And I've always been into video games ever since I was younger. I would always play with my brother. I had a GameCube and a PlayStation 2 and like a Nintendo DS, a Game Boy, like just all the gaming consoles that you could really think of when you were younger, an Xbox 2, that sort of thing. I had all of those and I was really into those and I played with my brother all the time. Those are my like best memories, is just playing with my brother when we were younger. We used to play Sonic Adventure 2 all the time and that was our jam. We could spend hours on that thing. I'm sure that CD is probably scratched up to heaven right now just because of how many times we would play that in a row and just back to back to back. But I've always been into video games, so that's like one of my like loves of my life, and I just want to talk about some of the games that have been on my radar as of right now. So the first game that we'll talk about is the game Hades. That is a game that I've been really into lately on my Switch. All of these games are also on my Switch, by the way. I don't usually play any other console. I know it's probably a little Nintendo bias there, but it's the game. You probably can't see it, but I feel like an influencer, maybe. But but the game is Hades. It's a really, really good game about the character Zagreus, who is the son of Hades. And Zagreus, when you first start the game, he's basically just trying to escape the underworld, and you don't necessarily know why, but it's a roguelike game. Roguelike meaning, of course, for people that may not know, is it's a game where you will be asked to do a certain task, whether that's beat a level or continue on with the story. Usually they're like very simple mechanics, nothing too like stressful or strenuous, but it's a game where you're kind of set off at the beginning of whatever task that you're asked to do, where you have very minimal support or leveling or any sort of strength at all, and then as you continue on through the level or the stages or whatever have you, you get more power-ups, and those will help you potentially beat the tasks that you need to do. So for example, in this game, you're supposed to escape the underworld. So that's the task that you have to do. And while you do that, you are helped by your relatives, because this game stems from Greek mythology. So you get help from your relatives that are on Mount Olympus. So you'll see Zeus, Aphrodite, Artemis, and all of those other like gods and goddesses that you've heard about probably in like high school and stuff like that. And they'll help you out and they'll give you power-ups. But a roguelike, the biggest thing about it is, though, if you die, you have to restart from the beginning. But the really interesting about all of that is that with Hades, you get more story each time you win, but you also get more story each time you fail. So with this roguelike, you feel like you're not progressing in a way that's really slow and you don't feel like the pacing is off. Sometimes roguelikes can kind of feel like that, where you're not getting as much as you'd want from the story because you're not beating the levels. But with Hades, you're able to get more. 10 out of 10 game too. I've put it off for so long. I know people recommended it for the Switch for such a long time, but I really did put it off for quite a while. The other game that I wanted to talk about too was the game that I just got, which is another Crab's Treasure. I have been waiting to play this for a really long time. It is a Souls-like adventure game, which, if you're not familiar with what a Souls-like is, just think of like the Dark Souls franchise, or I am forgetting the name of the other franchise as well, but those types of games that are known for their difficulty as well as their adventure seeking and just like their grim, dark nature usually within like the gaming. This one is more of a lighthearted one, and it's with the main character of a crab, which is really interesting, rather than having a knight or some sort of soldier, which is interesting. I haven't started this one too much yet. I just downloaded it the other day as well, so I think I'm probably like maybe 2 hours in. I think if you do want to get this game, I would maybe not get it on the Switch is my only recommendation, because the Switch's performance right now is just not the best with it at this time. I do only use it or only play that game on the TV, and it's a lot better, but I wouldn't recommend playing that game in handheld. The zones are pretty expansive and pretty heavy, I think, load on the Switch. So that's my only critique, but right now it seems really, really great. There's voice acting in the game too, which is also a plus. I'm glad that they put that voice acting within the game. The other game that I have to recommend as well is Dave the Diver. This is a game that I got not too long ago as well. It's one of the really popular games on the eShop right now for the Switch. It's a game where you are playing as Dave, who is just a marine diver, and you have to kill fish, unfortunately, and hunt fish for your sushi shop that you'll run at night. So it's kind of like a restaurant tycoon game as well as fishing simulator slash hunting or diving simulator as well. So you kind of get the best of the both worlds for that game, because you get the restaurant as well as the diving aspect of it. It's really good. It's a 10 out of 10 for me as well. All of these are pretty much 10 out of 10. I wouldn't recommend anything that's less than that probably. It's a really good game. I put a lot of hours into this. There's a lot of story so far, and I think I'm probably moving really slow within this game because I just really enjoy the diving aspect. It's really relaxing. You don't have to do anything at the game's pace. You can take your time. Of course, it benefits you to probably focus on what the game's story wants you to do, but when you do the diving missions, you have as much time as you want for diving and like exploring the sea and stuff, so you really have no limits in terms of that. It's a really, really good game. I would recommend it, of course, to anybody. And the last game, of course, I want to recommend is Stardew Valley. I'm sure that one goes pretty much without explaining at this point. Stardew Valley has been something that has taken over the Switch era of gaming and just gaming in general. Sorry, all this yapping get me thirsty. Then the last thing I wanted to touch on today, or no, second to last thing I want to touch on today was music I've been into lately. So music, of course, for me is something that I've always been just in love with, and I I'm actually pretty well versed in most genres. I grew up with my mom playing like Motown or music from the 60s, so Simon and Garfunkel, or the Mamas and the Papas, or Peter, Paul and Mary, or the Beatles. And so I'd have that part of me as well. And then I have the other part of me that my mom has also instilled in me, where she's listened to Tammy Wynette, Patsy Cline. The music that I've been into lately is, for one, Cowboy Carter from Beyonce. I've been obsessed with that. I really was surprised by this because I like Beyonce, I like her music, I like Renaissance as well. I just love that album to death. We have that on vinyl, and we don't have Cowboy Carter on vinyl yet, but maybe that'll be something that I'll try to get. Cowboy Carter is something that I think I really wasn't expecting from Beyonce, which I think is the best part of just being a Beyonce fan, is I really think whenever you do have an expectation for her, she just takes it and she just throws it away and is like, this is what I'm going to give you. Like, this is my art, this is my craft that I'm going to give you. And she puts out a project that is just definitely, like, you can just tell there's so much time and dedication put into this, so much thought, and she's just really good at what she does and just really good at her craft. There's a height of like musicality that musicians have, and then there's Beyonce and her musical knowledge and knowledge of pitches and harmonies and tones and lyrics, and I just think it's great. So Cowboy Carter is a 11 out of 10 for me for an album. Like I said, I really wasn't expecting it because I haven't really listened to modern country as much. Like, I'm not really into modern country as much right now, but I knew, of course, older country like Johnny Cash and that sort of thing. So I was more concerned when I was told that she was going to be putting out a country album, because I was like, what does that look like and what does that mean? But it's, of course, done in such a way that is perfect and that works immaculately well. So I have no critiques for that album. It's just perfect. Another album that I have gotten into recently, because I just picked it up from Target, I picked up this TLC vinyl from Target not too long ago today. Hopefully you can see that. TLC. I've never listened to TLC before, at least not an album anyway. Of course I've listened to Creep and Waterfalls, but I've never listened to TLC before, just like full album, like front to back wise. So when I bought this, I was like, well, I've heard really good things about it. I like Waterfalls, I mean, who doesn't? I like Creep, of course, too. And so I was like, I'll just get the vinyl and see what I can do, and that's what I can do, and see if I like it or not. That's one of my favorite things to do with vinyls too. I know it's a dangerous game, but I love that I can buy a vinyl and have a whole album full of people and just their sound without having to go on Spotify and listen to the songs that I only like from them, and it really expands my like palette and understanding of music. So I got TLC's Crazy Sexy Cool, super good album, and I really wasn't expecting what I got from this. The vinyl is just, it's like like a
Miss Jackson.
I'm speechless. The vinyl is super good. I played it for the first time this week, and the first thing that got me was I was like, this is an album that just like shows the craft and the trend of music in the 90s. If I'm correct for TLC, I think it was the 90s when they put this out. You can just kind of tell with like the funk and the beats. Like, when I was listening to the first side A of the vinyl, and you get Creep, and then it goes into Kick Your Game, and the bass that you get from Kick Your Game is just so addicting in a way that I really didn't expect it to be, especially on vinyl too, because my vinyl's got 2 speakers on it, so you can really feel it. It was just really good. So I've been listening to that album this whole week in my headphones when I'm at work, and when I get home, I listen to it on the vinyl as well too. It's just a really great album, and I was actually pretty shocked. I was looking more into, their story to TLC as a girl group as well. So I think that's another reason I love just getting vinyls. I just find new artists and you're just like, okay, what am I gonna get this time? So really enjoyed that. 10 out of 10 for TLC as well. And then, of course, another album that I've been really, really addicted to is Casey Musgrave's Deeper Well. I don't even know what to say about this album that probably hasn't already been said at this point. Deeper Well is an album that I was really anticipating from Casey Musgraves because when she announced it, she said that it was going to be more folk and country inspired, which of course Casey's a country artist, so this is like a path that would naturally make sense for her career. But maybe my favorite genre of music besides like R&B is folk music from like the 70s and the 80s. So like John Denver, James who sings I'm forgetting. Okay, now I'm kind of embarrassing myself. But
anyway, so
the music from the 70s, like the folk music from that time, just really it's calming to me. I feel at home when I listen to those songs and that music. I just really love that sound of that time. So when I heard that Casey was going to be doing a folk album, I was so excited because I was like, okay, what is she going to be taking her folk inspiration from? And she takes it from so many different angles too. You can definitely hear like the inspiration from the 70s and 80s, as well as some inspiration from like Irish folk music, and she's got some samples in there too that work spectacular with these songs, and her voice is just like velvet on this album. 10 out of 10 for me. I've listened to it as many times as I probably can. My phone's probably like sick of me listening to it all the time, but my favorite song on the album is Moving Out right now. That's not the full title. The song is Moving Out. My favorite song on the album is Moving Out. It's a great song. It's just like I was saying, like Casey's voice is just like liquid velvet for your ears, and on Moving Out it's so good. And then my other one that I actually didn't think I was going to like is Anime Eyes. That one I'm not going to spoil for you if you haven't listened to it. It's a fun song. It's got a cute message. It's cutesy. I love it. I have no critiques for it. But 10 out of 10 album. And if you have the Cardinal vinyl, I'm going to put a picture up right here. Casey put out this Cardinal vinyl. It's a printed on, like screen printed vinyl. It's so gorgeous, and I am so jealous to whoever has one in their house. If you have one right now, just know that you're on my rob list, and I am going to take that from you immediately. I've been scouring eBay, and I think she's going to put some more pre-orders for it out in the future, so I'm hoping I can still get one. But just if you have one right now, just watch your back, because I'm coming for you.
like I get ghetto. People don't know that.
I'm being so serious too. I'm not joking right now. Give me that Cardinal vinyl immediately. Thank you very much. Let's see. The last thing I wanted to touch on today besides that was just some other hobbies that I've been kind of getting into, or at least trying to. I want to get off of social media more as well. Lately, I've just been spending, I think, maybe a little bit too much time on Twitter, to the point where it's just like Twitter is great at informing people what is happening in the world right now. I think it's also bad at showing you negative things and negative thoughts. I feel like Twitter has just been a place where people go to be very negative lately, and I don't really like that. Especially when I'm trying to like get my mind off a stressful time, and I want to go on social media to see positive things. Not saying that you can't see the negative things of things all the time, and I'm not talking about like negative things that are happening in the world, because I want to know that. Like I want to know about what's happening in other countries and other places in the world, and whether that's positive or negative. But I'm talking more about like just like the opinions that are like racist, misogynistic, homophobic, and like just negative. I'm trying to limit my time on there just for my own mental health, my own sanity. Clearly, my own sanity is just one of the reasons. YouTube's also been helping with that too. I have some creators that I can list here that I've been watching too lately, just because I've been trying to get back into YouTube, of course, not only just for making content, but just for watching content that's not always on my For You page on YouTube. So I'm trying to get out into other creators that I think are interesting and just kind of watch those people as well and support them just by liking or subscribing, whatever helps, whether that's me or anybody else, you can do that. But for real, thank you for watching today. This is the end of the video. I hope that this video was just a good, cozy video for you, but I just wanted to do one that's more personal because I did start this YouTube channel and I never really had a video where they're like, okay, this is me and this is my channel and what's this all about. So really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for watching and sticking with me. And if you are new here, I appreciate you watching and sticking to the end of the video. And if you are making it this far, if you want to leave a like or a comment or subscribe, that helps out a ton, but it's all up to you. I appreciate anything that you want to do. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day. Whether it's gloomy or sunny, just take a little breather for yourself too. Don't forget that, okay? Thank you.